My good evening audience, far and wide, near and far. Hi everybody, hi. So whatever part of the Caribbean, the earth, the world, I am here again in your space, this great day. A day where you press play. And I trust, as I said last podcast, I hope you are enjoying these podcasts, and I want to hear from you. Please put something in the comments bar or send me an email, nationmind2021@gmail.com. And let's hear what you have to say. So what we are dealing with here today is the whole concept again of loss and grief. And last podcast we were talking about how you have to learn how to overcome the assumptiveness of your life. And by the way, did you write a story? Or if you haven't yet, write a story. Write how it felt when you were traumatized. How you felt. Say it on paper. Put it down. Create it. Make it meaningful. I felt this way, I felt that way, I wanted to cuss, I wanted to fall, I felt despair, oh, say it out. But it's important for somebody to hear you. Don't just say it out to the wind. Say it out so that somebody can hear you. I don't want you just to write it, but I want you to say it. Let somebody hear it. Because what we want to do is to help you to make meaning of it eventually. And I'm saying that because when I've written my story, I will begin to see what really happened to me. Because I can think it. I can assume. But when I write it, it's right in front of me saying, yes, I huffed, I puffed, I cussed, I danced, I squinged, I jumped. And it's important for me to identify those verbs, because those are the verbs that are important for how I see myself going forward, either strongly or weakly. And it is important for me to know how I am making the effort to go forward. Eventually, as we go back, we get out to that point of making meaning. One of the things that are vital at this point in time is for me to read about that story and then see how the story, I can work from that story to assist me in my future. So if I say, my flat tire, I couldn't fix the tire, I felt badly, I was going to be late for work, I had no money, I felt just very agonized because here it is again. If I say all those things, how could that help me in my future? So I could go back to the story and say, okay, I was puffed up, I was angry, I didn't have any money. So I could stop there and say, okay, I had a problem with being late. But what did lateness mean to me? Oh, I had no money, and could I have gotten money somewhere else? So that you can begin to see from your story options that you could have identified with in terms of going forward. So we call that reconstructive or co-constructive. You and maybe a friend sit down and go over the story. Now, we are not mitigating or rather diminishing the value of your first experience of the negative emotions, the feeling, the uproar. No, we are taking that to reconstruct on new patterns of dialogue that will be more meaningful in terms of how you can respond. Because even though I said it's difficult to live the assumptive life, because we have this thing we call expectations, which comes out of the assumptive life. So that when we are assuming, we're actually expecting. So that even though I'm saying that, because I'm saying that from the last broadcast, because we have to be careful that we're going to be thrown outside of the assumptive life into a space which is disruptive. Coming back today, we are trying to define the meaning and to see how best we could have reacted. Why? Because coming down the road, in the next many years or months, there may be similar incidences or situations, so that what I have learned from today would help me in terms of how I respond tomorrow. See, I want to build a platform of resilience. Coming out of my first story, co-constructing it and bringing it to reality where I can present myself in a better platform of more control, so that my audience can see that I am growing, or I have identified in a more mature setting or more mature context to relate to the dysfunction or to whatever has happened negatively. So it's important for me to see how I can benefit. Now, I mentioned meaning. How do I find meaning from the dysfunction? Or let's use the word disruption. Meaning is how I related to it, what it meant to me at that point in time. So, what did a flat tire mean to me? Off the bat, late. So, I could take the word late and say, why does late come to my mind? Now, for me, Kenneth, I know late would come to me because my parents always said to me, "You're always late." My family always said to me, "Boy, you're always late." And I have tried with efforts not to hear that word. As a therapist with a practice, one has to make every effort to be prompt, because clients like you to be there. And that's for therapists, not for doctors or dentists. You can wait for the hour, but for us therapists, you need us right there now. So I have to learn in everything else I do, work out that feeling that I will be condemned. Somebody will talk about you. Here you go again. You have a negative implication. So late is a word that I have that becomes meaningful to me. So that impacts me. So that is going to cause me to be much more negatively agonized or angry or in a negative emotion. Because why? I am watching that kind of impulse that is driving me because of that word late. There could be another one called money. When something happens, what's the first meaning that comes to us? What does it mean to me? What makes this thing so agonizing? What makes this thing so painful, to use that word? What makes this thing? Because sometimes it's not just about the house burning down, or the lack of cornflakes, or the flat tire, or somebody fell and busted teeth. There are other extremities that we do not even sometimes have within our grasp or in our mind. But because it is a lifelong lived experience, or it has happened before, these things serve as triggers and cause us to find the meaning in our past and create that anxiety for the present. So, we have to learn how to define the meaning so as to prevent any continuum of negative impulses that throws us into a disorder where we become depressed or anxious or having any kind of other psychosis. We want to be able to control that by just the representation of what does this thing mean to me. I hope you understand this. This could be a bit technical, but it's real. What it means to me. What did COVID-19 mean to me? It's not just about COVID. Maybe it's not just about the fact that we had to wear masks. Some people, it meant isolation. It meant depravity. It meant confrontation. It had a lot of meaning. It meant loss. And so each of us would have had our own distinct experience and find our own meaning. For some of us, it meant more work. So we had to rationalize and conceptualize, how are we going to work with more work or isolation rather than just blame everything around. Oh, the job, the long lines, the grocery this, everything shut down. No, you're isolated. You can't come out of your house. But here it is. Now you are facing the issue of isolation. So we have to find meaning and know where to go from there. So, have we found meaning? Are we going a step further? So I'm using that now to help me find a means of coping with the next. Because as I said, the expectation of / assumption of my days to come is not going to change context of just whatever happens. No, we have a plan. Whether you use the word schedule, plan, you always get up in the morning saying, I have these things to do. So that we have to learn in having things to do, how are we going to get through these things, knowing that somewhere on the line, we may miss at times line, we may overexert ourselves, we may have an incident, we may have a disappointment, we may have some regret. How do we continue to work that? And those are very important factors in our very livelihood, in our very living. When we say we are having a good day, what does that mean? It means that you must be overcoming all these negativities, all these implications that you did not plan, and to continue with a smooth day. How am I going to work this new day? How am I going to work this new experience when I have not even learned to handle it all one? And we take it for granted. This thing happened to me, and then of course you say, oh my gosh, me again. Like I have a jumbie. You know, we in the Caribbean jumbie. Or something going on with me. Or I need to find some spiritual context to break some cycle. Hold on. We don't have no jumbie. We just need to sit down and rationally, cognitively, see what happened here, find the meaning, and see how we can overcome by going beyond the threshold of that situation and coming into a place where we can identify change. I want us to see how we can adapt. Now, I have this thing here that you would have seen me in my hand before. It's called a cell phone. This is a self crisis. Because I have not, in my past, had to be connecting with people through a phone. I will go and call. I was sharing recently that one of the things I haven't got to come to terms with yet is people coming to my house and using their phone to call me from the gate to inside to say I'm here. Before, in my growing up, hello, hi, good evening, knock knock. No more of that. So I have to learn to find meaning of that loss of connectivity, because I want voice in my ear. I want a connection, but this connects. This has changed language. But when people say to me now, they talk, I said, what? Great. Only to realize that talk has to do with finger, not mouth. So, what's happening? How do I get to the place where I am willing to what? Communicate with you outside of talk with my mouth, and come to the place where I can talk with my fingers. Are you understanding me? Are you here? We had a long chat. But what shall we have in? Oh my gosh! Eh. Oh la. H-E-R-E here. Where's that? T-A-L-K. What is that? C-A-L-L. Call. No longer is it connected. We have to learn how to work the difference. So I say to you, this is a whole kettle of fish that I had to work through and still working through. It's important to learn how to find that. And help me here, somebody. Tell me. What? You have no idea the kind of pressure I went through this. Should I hold it to my, for instance, even using it here? Does it look good? Why you don't have a notebook? Why you don't have a tablet? But you know what I realized? Everything in my tablet, everything on my tablet is in my phone. So somebody asked me today, where are your notes? I answer them. But you know my notes right here? Yeah. I like to write. I want to write my notes. And you will say to yourself, are we drifting from the consciousness of what we're talking about in terms of loss? My father said to me, and I've said this already on the broadcast, I have lost, he has lost the ability to write. Because all we're doing now is what? Texting. That's a great loss, People grieve over that. Architectures, drawings. Nobody's drawing anymore. It's going to the computer. And we have this thing called AI coming up, where we're going to lose everything. That's a loss. What we have to find meaning? How do we find meaning in that loss to continue? And that's what I have to work hard on. So I'm talking to myself today. Try to find the way forward. Try to find meaning from this catastrophe of no longer using pen and paper, no longer using my own brain, no longer using my skills. I have to continue because I have to live on. And there's things I have to do, but I have to find a new way. So I may have to find a new way of living after my house burned down. Or I have to find a new breakfast menu where I have no bread or cornflakes. Or I have to find a new means of transport where my tire is down. It's always a new way. So I have got to learn what I'm learning. Sorry, that's not good English. I have to identify with what I am learning from this trauma, from this loss, in order to help me identify with what is going on for my future. Friends, I hope we're flowing today. I hope you are connecting with me. I hope you are realizing that yes, we are all in this thing together. I am learning how to talk more now with people and try to use this less. Because conversation is going down, especially with the youth. There's a loss of language. There's a loss of communicating. Why? Because everybody is using the finger. And that does not help us with grammar and spelling. That's a next story by itself. Because we're even losing grammar. So we're going to be losing cultural heritages. How do we perform next? It's important for us to identify the way forward. I want to encourage you. The next broadcast we will do a little more, because this has to do a lot with how I identify my what? My possibilities. How do I cope with the next level of my experiences when I'm still having a problem here? So therefore I need to find that meaning. I need to come to a place where I can really identify how am I working, definitely in terms of what we're doing. The sense of my narrative, does it make sense? Does it have any credibility? So that when I come to language, it is important for me to work that out. And we will come to language next time. A little more of that. And we want to see how we can build out of that a new concept of my crisis and to go forward with. So let me stop here for a while. Remember, co-construct. Find somebody to work with. Share the story. Look over it. The word, what does it mean to me? As for me, what does a flat tire mean? It meant late. Late is a word that I have been struggling with. And usually it's a word that you have to confront and to come into a place of change. So how does it mean? How is it going to affect with me? How is it going to affect my future? How am I going to use it now to change? These are important factors to work on. And I want you to recognize, as we said, it's newness. So I have to find a new way of living, a new way of getting transport, a new menu for breakfast. It's all about new. So I have to learn to find how to work this new way effectively for my future and how to bring meaning out of communication in a different language. God bless you. Dr. Nice saying thank you again for listening and have a good week.